Hey friends, welcome back to another fun episode. Now this one is really cool. You ever meet one of those people that they're just really strong and they're a little bit edgy, but they're just genuinely good people and they like to have a lot of fun? Well, that's today's guest. She's got 20 years of experience in the fitness and health space, Masters of Health Psychology. She's held not only the state, but also American records in all three lifts for powerlifting. She's published in Shape Magazine, Men's Health, MyFitnessPal, Breaking Muscle, and just a ton of other ones. She does a ton of public speaking, including some stuff for Girls Gone Strong. She's the owner of Flawless Fitness, and she's got a book called Pleasure Not Meeting You. So without further ado, I got to welcome to the show, Melody Schoenfeld. Melody, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah. So you've got quite a unique backstory to kind of how you ended up in the fitness industry and where you're at. And I just would love to hear a little bit about that and whatever you want to go into.
Well, I didn't grow up athletic. That wasn't done in my family. So in my family, you can be a doctor, a lawyer, or an investment banker. Those are your options, or something else, that gives you that kind of prestige. But, athletics is not something that gets you there unless you are a professional athlete, and that wasn't going to happen. Nobody even played catch with me in the backyard or anything. I was not athletic. And so I used to get my mom to write me doctor's notes to get me out of PE. When I was in high school, I played soccer because I didn't want to do PE. And so they benched me 90% of the time. And then my last year that I played, I actually decided to start running over the summer to try to get a little better at that. So I ran over the summer, and then the first thing that we did was, this was back in New York, there's a park called Van Cortlandt Park. So we did, we were supposed to do a lap around Van Cortlandt Park. And I came in first, and my coach was just staring at me. And so after that, he would put me in the game for the last 5 minutes. And then he would be like, use your speed, which means don't touch the ball. Just use your speed. So that's my athletic history.
Love it.
Then I actually got a C in weightlifting in college. That was the only class I got a C in. When I got out of college, I've always wanted to be a musician. And it was pretty clear that that's not a practical work choice. So I went into advertising, and I worked for an architecture firm. I worked for a law firm. I was a computer consultant for 5 years. So I did all of that stuff. And in the meantime, I needed to make extra money. So I was an advertising executive making $20,000 a year in New York City. That will buy you maybe a sandwich. So my brother, Brad, owned a gym, a training center for women. And he brought me on part-time to help him out. And I don't like talking the talk if I'm not walking the walk. So that's how I got into really training with any consistency or seriousness. I kind of messed around with it here and there, but nothing grabbed me about it. So I started working with my brother. He would write the programs for the clients, and all I had to do was learn how to do the movements and then teach it. That's it. So then I started taking those programs and taking them to the gym with me and doing them myself, or else I would just, follow my brother around and do whatever he was doing and be annoying. So that was basically how I got started with the weight training. And I discovered I liked it a lot, and I felt really good when I did that. And when I was a computer consultant, all of my coworkers, it's the fattest industry in the world, are up there, because it's so sedentary, and it's a lot of team dinners and, brought in food and stuff like that. And a lot of people who I worked with came from the deep South, where it's not the healthiest diet either. So there's a lot of obesity, and I was kind of one of the only people really going to the gym. And so a couple of my coworkers were like, can you show me what to do? So when I left New York and moved to Chicago, I continued to kind of help people training. And then my company laid off about 5,000 people after September 11th.
Wow.
And my project team was among the last to be laid off. And I had to figure out at that time what I wanted to do with my life. And what I realized, because, something like September 11th really makes you reevaluate your priorities.
Absolutely.
And exactly, right? So what I realized was that my entire life, what I'd been doing was making other people who already had money, making them more money. And that's not how I wanted to live my life. I wanted to help people. And the only place where I felt like I was helping people was through music, because music changes you. You can change somebody's life with a song. Music and the training. I was making a visible, palpable difference in the people that I trained. And so I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. So at the time I was dating someone in Los Angeles because I'm great at the long distance thing. And so I moved to LA to be with him. I'm still in LA. That's the end of that story. And I started working for big box gyms, and then I kind of branched off and started my own thing. And
Wow.
All downhill from there.
All downhill. No, that's really cool. I love the piece where you're talking about like how music, can do the same thing. And as I think about it, you're right. Like either music or fitness help touch you, yes, on a physical level, but on a spiritual level and a mental level, just across the board. And just kind of helping someone find their truth within finding their song or finding their body. So that's really cool. And actually I found you, you were in my backyard, we lived both in Pasadena, and yet I ran into you up in Seattle at a speaking conference.
Right.
And was like, wow, this lady's awesome. Oh wait, lives in Pasadena.
Yeah.
Wait, I need to learn more. And then learning who your brother was, who's a big name in the fitness industry and doing some wonderful stuff too. Kind of a big deal. But yeah, just what you're doing is amazing. And that's why I think you do so many unique things within the fitness industry that I think people think of the kind of fitness and nutrition world as, eat tilapia and broccoli and jump on a treadmill. But you got to explain some of the stuff you do with bending metal and nails and rebarb and lifting and just cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't eat tilapia. I think that's probably my secret.
Yes.
No tilapia. I'm a vegan, so I don't do any of that stuff. But I do eat food. I like food. I got into old time strongman training. I met a guy named Bud Jeffries, who is a performing strongman. Do you know Bud?
I've heard the name, so I'm gonna have to look him up. He's
pretty badass. He's like 300 pounds and does handstands on one hand. He's ridiculous. He kind of started teaching me steel bending and stuff, and I just like it. There's something about it that clicked with me, and it's certainly not for everybody because it hurts. It hurts your hands. When I started getting into nail bending, it compressed the nerves in my hands so that my hands went numb for a while. That took a little bit. I don't have that anymore, but you have to be willing to work through that stuff if you're going to do the kind of stuff I do. My legs are covered in bruises all the time because I'm just like bending stuff on them. The card tearing, it does a number on your calluses, stuff like that. So you have to be willing to deal with a bit of discomfort to do that stuff. But I love it. There's something about, I think there's something about being a 104-pound vegan who bends steel that shocks people.
Yeah, we'll link up some videos or something because they're amazing. They're super
thanks.
fun.
Yeah, I guess it's something about doing the thing that nobody expects of you. I guess I've always done that, so it's kind of cool. Yeah.
No, I love that. And my wife actually was at one of your seminars or a seminar that you're speaking at, and you taught how to rip magazines. And so she ripped her first. Yeah, she ripped her first magazine because of that.
Nice.
So it's definitely influential. I think it just kind of transfers this concept of strength and just power and everything.
Well, it's all overcoming gravity, isn't it? I mean, like that's all it really is. And gravity's trying to keep that thing straight, and you're trying to overcome it. Or maybe it's not gravity, maybe it's molecular structure, but whatever. I'm overcoming forces of physics. So, one way or another,
Yeah. And you have to, that has to play a role in your clients' lives. Like someone who's just listening and starting out on their journey or wherever they're at, and they're hearing this stuff going like, whoa, I'm not going to get into bending metal or anything like that. But that concept makes so much sense. So how do you use that and influence so many of your clients and people with that?
I have very, very few people who come to me wanting to do that stuff. That's not something that most of my clients want to do. Most people don't want to go through the discomfort of it or anything like that. And it's completely understandable. But there's something about knowing that I can do that it impresses them and they tell their friends. Now, every once in a while, I will get someone who comes to me and they're like, I want to bend some steel like you do. I have one client, Carrie, who she had gone through a very traumatic experience with the loss of her husband. And she came to me a little bit after he passed and said, her husband was really prominent in the music world. So I knew him, and I knew her because of him. And she basically was like, I'm ready to get healthy, and I want to tear phone books like you do. And so that's what we do. She's having a rough day, we hit stuff. And when she's having a rough day, we bend stuff and we tear stuff, and it helps. It makes a big difference. And it's empowering for her. And it's not for everybody. It's not, there's no one thing that's for everybody. But for her, yeah. And then I have a couple clients who never had any interest in doing that stuff. And I was just like, you know what? Let's just do this right now. And then all of a sudden they're just very impressed with themselves. Marva, I got Marva to bend, and now she was impressed with herself. So, yeah.
Yeah, Marva was on a previous episode, and she is a 60-year-old badass. Dropped like 75 pounds and can lift in the 200s now, and does a knitting pull-up. And Melody is taking her to a whole nother awesome level.
She's awesome.
Very cool. So, you touched on the fact that a client came to you, and it was loss of her husband that helped her kind of shift into, reclaiming her body and reclaiming sense of self. Yeah. What are the other motivators that get people to make that shift from sedentary lifestyle? And even back in the day when they would reach out to you because they were, you were working in that agency, like what creates that shift for people if they're trying to get there, but they just can't yet?
It's different for everybody. But I find that for most people, it's some kind of a trauma. They either lost someone close to them that made them realize that they need to do something now, or they had an incident where they realized they need to do something now. That's for a lot of people that's what does it. It's like they watched their friend / parent / whatever go through some kind of health related disease that could have been prevented through proper steps, and then they said, oh my God, that could have been me. So it could be that, or it could be, I had a heart attack, I need to do something now. So that seems to be the impetus for, I would say, more than half of the people who come to me. Like they had a medical incident where like their doctor said, if you don't do something, you're going to be dead. And then for a lot of other people, they just look in the mirror and they and then it's just the last straw. They're just, I'm sick of seeing this in the mirror and I want to see this other thing, or I'm sick of, not have, for some people it's loss of control and then regaining control. I do not have control over all of these things in my life. And now I need to control what I can. And so I'm going to control this. So, it's different for everybody. It's a very, very individual thing, but I feel like those are kind of the most common things that I see.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like an awakening of sorts. Yeah. And then what do you do to kind of keep them going through that? Because that's the hardest part of the journey for most. And you have clients that have been with you forever, and you've been in the industry for a really long time. So it speaks volumes to what you're doing that's working. So I'd love your insights on that.
Thanks. Well, it's a matter of, number one, meeting people where they're at. And number two, I think a lot of it is I'm just so charming, but I think a lot of it is people realizing that they feel good when they do this thing. And for some people, it's just like, I know I have to exercise and I don't like exercising, and it's at least tolerable when I come there. For other people, it's like, I hate exercising. Wait a minute, I can lift that. Now I want to lift more than that. So what motivates people is also, it's a very individual thing. For me, it's always been like, let me see what I can make my body do now, so for me, it's always been that. For other people, it's that. For other people, I just realized this is something I need to stick with, or, I'm actually kind of having fun doing this, or they like the people in the group that they train with, or, it's just so different for everybody. But, if somebody I find is lacking in motivation, then we have to find the thing that's going to motivate them. We have to find the thing that's going to make them feel good about what it is they're doing.
Yeah.
Because everybody hits a plateau. So it's a matter of, what are we going to do to move past this so that you don't feel stagnant anymore?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So it's like after they have that awakening and that reasoning to move away from pain or from trauma or from what was, then it's finding some kind of joy within it and finding some kind of practice in that process that's they look forward to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Very cool. And so then with that, like definitely talk about the book. Cause Yeah, I mean, you mentioned vegan, and you've got a great book about it. So, plug that for a second.
Okay, I'm going to plug my book. So I wrote this book last year called "Pleasure Not Meeting You," MEAT. That title was my cover artist. I wish I came up with that myself, but he's awesome. So the book, the idea was that there's a lot of bad propaganda on veganism, and when I say bad propaganda, I don't just mean propaganda against veganism. I mean propaganda by vegans for vegans. It's the stuff that's out there that's trying to convince you to become vegan. It's faulty. They use fear tactics. Fear is a very powerful motivator. We use it in our elections. We use it in everything to get people to, if you want someone to do something, make them afraid to not do it. And that's what they do. They're like, if you don't become vegan, you're going to get cancer. If you eat meat, you're going to get cancer. If you eat eggs, you're going to get a heart attack. They just throw this propaganda on you, and it's based very loosely on science. It's a very cherry-picked art. I like to call it art because it is, it takes some thought to pick and choose what's going to work for your story. But most of that stuff is designed to convince you to do what people want you to do. I don't have any players in that game. I don't need you to be vegan. I just want you to do it right if you're going to do it. To me, it'd be great if everybody was vegan, because the reason I'm vegan is for animal purposes. I'm a huge animal rights person. I'm a sucker for dogs. I like them better than people. And to me, I just want to create as little harm as I can for animals and for the planet. And so that's my way of doing that. Call me on it if you want. You can tell me that it's faulty or my reasoning is wrong. But for me, this is what makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So for me, I see people becoming vegan because they watch these things, and it's backfiring because, okay, if your goal is to make someone become vegan, and you do it through fear tactics, and you never taught them how to do it right, number one, they're not going to stick with it. And number two, they're probably going to get sick. You're not going to stick with something when you make a rash decision. You're not going to just be like, oh, I've been eating meat all this time and I really don't have a problem with meat, but I need to go vegan right now. Yeah, no, you're not going to stick with it. Maybe 1% of the people will stick with that change. Also, if you don't feel good when you're eating that diet, you're not going to stick with it. So what's the point, really, honestly? If you change someone for a month and then they go back to what they were doing before, and then they say being vegan is stupid because it makes me feel bad, you didn't really help your cause, did you?
Right.
And it's interesting because I actually submitted an article to a vegan magazine, which shall remain nameless, but it's a major one. And I got reamed for my article. I got informed that I should not be telling people that they should take supplements because that makes it sound like you need to do work to become vegan, and no one's going to want to become vegan if they have to do work to do it. It should be easy, and we get our research. Our research is scientific. Our resources are these three people. These three people who agree with what we say. And actually, those three people don't always agree with what they say, but they can cherry pick that stuff from there.
Right.
So that's what I'm up against. And so I wanted to write this book to create kind of a user-friendly guide to be vegan properly. And I wanted to make sure that it was as unbiased as possible. So I got Jose Antonio to read it, who is decidedly not vegan. I got Mike Israel to read it, who is also decidedly not vegan. And I just wanted to make sure that I got the best in the business who don't have any kind of a vegan bias to say, you know what, your information is on point. This is good stuff. So that's what I did. And I made it super user friendly. I didn't, throw any complex concepts out there. And it was only about 30 pages really. And so I was like, well, I got to make this bigger. And my clients have been bugging me for a while to do a cookbook. So I did some recipes. So that was the rest of the book. So
it's perfect. It's fascinating because you the first part of that, you were pretty much arguing against it, but not necessarily arguing against it, just explaining so clearly how authentic you are to it and why. And I love that. I mean, it means you're speaking your truth and living it. And I love the whole concept really of no absolutes more than anything else. I mean, that's what I was taking away. If someone is living in absolutes, like you absolutely have to eat this way using scare tactics or anything like that. And we see this with so many gyms running these things where you have to lose a certain amount of weight in a certain amount of time,
totally.
around deposit and money. And I'm like, man, I think that's probably doing more harm than good. And if you're speaking in absolutes, you're not flowing with, the continued research and stuff.
And you're going to find this kind of stuff, not just with veganism. You're going to find it with any kind of eating dogma. You're going to find it with the exercise dogma. Like the kettlebell community for a long time was like, you can only do kettlebells and you can only do hard style. And if you do any other kind of kettlebells, it's wrong, like that kind of thing. So when somebody believes very strongly in something, it becomes a religion. And that's what veganism is to me. This is my religion. It's my belief system. And if there's one thing that I do not like, it's other people pushing their belief systems on me. Because when it comes down to it, it is a belief system. And it may be rooted in some fact. There may be some fact in there. But it doesn't mean that everybody has to believe it. And if they don't believe it, that's okay. Do what you want to do as long as you are not hurting anybody else. No harm, no foul. I'm fine. You don't have to love animals the way I love animals. You don't have to eat the way I eat. You don't have to care about the things I care about. But if you do, or if this is a path you want to take for some other reason, at least do it right.
Yeah. So you're saying basically take the judgment out of it and find, I mean, ultimately, do you think that everyone should kind of find their own belief system when it comes to food nutrition? Is that beneficial?
I think it is. I think as long as you're not hurting yourself, you can eat any way you want. If it makes you happy and you feel good, more power to you. I don't care how you eat. It's none of my business,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's when your decisions start impacting my world, then I have a problem, or other people's worlds. Or if you're doing something that is detrimental to your health, then we're going to have a problem. But if you're fine and I'm fine, we're fine.
Yeah. No, that's so well said. I mean, if someone is in a place where they may even be unhealthy, but they're really happy with it and they're not complaining about it, I mean, who are we to, judge? We can offer advice and stuff if they're willing to seek it out, but only if they're in that place. And I think that's meeting it without judgment and meeting them with love and meeting them with compassion and living our truth. So
exactly. And the fact of the matter is, if somebody is going to change, they have to want to change. So trying to force somebody to change when they're not interested in changing is not going to be a very productive endeavor,
Yeah. That's why you own your own spot. People come to you when they're ready to change.
Exactly. Like, I'm not a salesperson. I'm just here to provide tools.
Yeah. Speak to some of those tools, because you got some unique tools. So like you're not the regular gym where it's loads of treadmills and all that kind of stuff. So just break out some of the
boring. If you have to watch television while you're doing something, you're doing it wrong.
I'm with you.
The way I see it is like most personal trainers, they'll warm you up. They'll have you walk on a treadmill for a while, and then they'll stretch you, and then they work you out, and then they stretch you again, and then they put you back on the treadmill. And who the hell needs to pay me to watch them walk on a treadmill? And that doesn't really like warm you up for what you're going to do. Anyways, if you look at the science of a warm-up, the science of a warm-up is a lighter set of the thing you're going to do. So I can watch you walk on a treadmill all day long. It's not going to make you better at the stuff that you're going to be doing when you're with me. So I'd rather just get to the meat of it and move on, get rid of all that extra crap that you don't need to pay me for. I'm a terrible business person because I don't charge enough. I am fully aware of this. I don't charge for things that are unnecessary. I don't force people into contracts. I don't force people to come to me 3 times a week. I don't do any of that stuff. I am a terrible business person. I mostly really just care about, are you getting what you want out of me? And are you able to stick to what you want to do? Those are the 2 things I care about. So if you're going to get what you want by coming to me once every 2 years, I'm fine with that. It may be to my detriment financially, but that's how I run my little business.
Hey, you're still doing it and doing it strong, and people are seeking you out. So there's something to be said about that. Yeah. I mean, when I owned my own gym, core value number 1, and anybody who became a trainer for me or anything like that had to know and had to live it, is core value number 1 was truly give a shit. That was the actual phrase.
Yep.
And, and I have a buddy who owns a gym out in Philadelphia, and it's one of the most successful, and all he does is one-on-one training. When everyone is saying, you can't do one-on-one, it's got to be small group and all this stuff and all this dogma about it. And it's like truly care about people and give them what they need and listen to them.
Exactly.
So you're living it.
Hmm?
All right. So Love it. Love it. So if you could recommend someone to work on just one simple thing, like if someone's sitting on the other side and they're like trying to struggle to get going and wherever they're at. And I mean, you mentioned the awakening type aspect and stuff like that, but what do you think they really need to hear right now? That's one key thing.
Well, all you got to ask yourself is okay, so where do I want to go? And what is one thing that I'm ready to do right now to get me there? It could be anything. It could be, I can stand up for a little while instead of sitting on the couch all day. Where are you now? What is one thing you can change right now that will get you there eventually? And let's go from there. That's it.
Make it as simple as possible. Decrease the threat.
Yep.
Love it. And I know you have that approach with fitness and nutrition. And you just walk people through kind of step by step. And is that just revisiting that process?
Pretty much. Yep. It's just a matter of goal setting and setting appropriate goals. Setting appropriate goals, setting goals that you are ready to attempt, and setting goals that kind of make sense for your timeline or your ultimate goal. So that's really what it comes down to. And they can be emotional, they can be mental, they can be physical, they can be food, they can be any of those things, because all of those things will eventually get you to where you're going. You know,
so cool.
If you have, for instance, the proper mindset, then you can make all the physical goals that you want. You won't reach them because you're not mentally in a place where you can do physical things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Let's do the mental work for sure. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. All right. So before I ask my last question, where can everybody find you? And I
am all over the interwebs. If you just look up my name, you can find me freaking everywhere. You can find pictures of my dog. You can find a lot of pictures of my dog. If you like pictures of my dog, you should definitely follow me on social media. I am on the Twitter. I am on the YouTube. I am on I'm on Facebook. I am on Instagram. Those are the 4 social medias that I am on. You can find all kinds of pictures of me and video of me singing if you want to go that route. You can find, I pun a lot. You can enjoy my horrible sense of humor if you like. But yeah, I'm all over the place. You can find me. If you look up my name, you'll find me everywhere. And eventually you'll find a link that leads you to the place you want to be.
Love that. Love that. Just Google her name. You'll find what you're looking for. Beautiful.
And I think I'm the only Melody Schoenfeld on the planet also, so you won't have trouble as long as you spell my name right.
Yeah, there you go. We'll make sure we link that up because it's a little long. And we'll put the book. I know it's on Amazon, so that'll be great
it's
too.
It's on Amazon only, that one. Yeah, my next one will be more widespread, but that one's only on Amazon because that was one of those things. It was just like, I just want to get the information out there. I don't want anyone else to tell me how I can put it out there. Because when you get involved with a publisher, then all of a sudden you have to go by their guidelines in there, whatever. I just wanted to get the information out there. I wanted it to be accurate and I wanted it to be done. And so okay, Amazon, that's it. But the next one is I'm going through publishers, so it'll be a little different.
Beautiful. It's kind of the way you help people with taking care of their health and taking charge. It's just grab it and do what you can do with it right here, right now. That one thing mentality.
Exactly.
You really do live it. I love it. All right. So last question. What do you believe it truly takes to completely transform?
I mean, it takes the desire to do it. That's really what it comes down to. You have to be ready to do it and you have to want to do it. And if you don't have it, you can want to quit smoking all you want. You can say, oh, yeah, I know I should quit smoking. But if you're not ready to do it, you're never going to do it. So you have to just want to make the change enough to make the change.
Want the change enough to make the change. Keep it deep. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, Melody, thank you so much for coming on the show. Great insights and love everything that was shared. Appreciate you very much.
Cool, man. I appreciate you too.
All right, friends. Thanks again for listening to another great show. Now, I just want to continue today with some powerful education. I've found that through the interviews on this podcast and coaching so many people and just the continued education that I continue to expand upon is that if you're ready to transform, you're ready to change, it requires some help. And that help just stands for habits, environment, life events, and pain. And it really does matter to have all 4 of those elements for you to completely transform your life. Habits. Yes, 40 to 50% of our daily activity is based on our habits. And I'd argue it might even be higher than that. Because when you make a positive choice, you make a decision, let's say to work out first thing in the morning, well, then your action that's going to follow, your next habit, is going to fall right in line with that chain that it is linked to. You work out, so then you want to eat healthy. You want to eat healthy, so then you want to be productive. You want to be productive, and it just spawns on and on and on. Now, when we choose to hit the snooze button, skip the workout, then pull into the McDonald's drive-thru. There may be some good options there. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been there. But you get what I'm saying. And it's going to spawn all the way down so that by the end of the day, the willpower is shot. So when you need to make those powerful decisions, you've already spent all of that emotional energy on them. That's why habits really do matter, right? Environment matters heavily. If your fridge and your pantry is full of stuff that isn't going to serve you in the best ability to get to where you want to be, that's the choice that you're going to make when, at the end of the day, that willpower is completely gone from all those decisions from the previous morning. Now, let's look about life events. There can be positive ones, like the birth of a child or a marriage. There can also be really traumatic ones, like the loss of a loved one or the shift in a changing career. Either way, these life events help us change habits in our environment rather quickly. You've heard of when someone gets pregnant. My wife went through this personally, and we start clearing out the pantry and making shifts to our health that we know is going to serve the baby a little bit better, right? And so it's easy to make these transitions, or easier, I should say, when you have a life event that's happening. Sometimes it's our responsibility to create our own life event so that we can change the environment and improve our habits. And the last one is pain. Unfortunately for a lot of us, most of us, we are human. We won't move. We won't change. We love our homeostasis. We love to stay in our little cocoon of what's normal until the pain is just too great, until the pain or fear has decided we need to make a shift. And at that point, the pain of going through these workouts, the pain of not eating as many calories isn't going to feel as bad as the pain that we are currently in. So sometimes pain can be our greatest power and our greatest ally. So when we're putting all four of these together, this is how we're going to create massive shift inside of our lives. This is how we're going to create the change that we are actually looking for. And these are the four elements that I've put into the transformation retreat. So if you're a woman and you're ready to create some clarity back in your life, but you also feel like you've been taking care of everybody else for so long and it's time to rest, recalibrate, rejuvenate, rediscover some purpose back in your life, then I encourage you to apply for the transformation retreat. Because yes, we are going to work on some habits to sustain this new way of living so that you're no longer getting to this place of burnout and exhaustion. The environment matters heavily, and that's why you get your own private room. That's why cooking is completely done for you. There's events, there's breakthroughs. It's an incredible experience where your environment is built to nourish you. That's why there's a life event. It is a life event. It is this 4-day immersive retreat for you to actually build these other pieces back into your life. And honestly, we're going to touch on the pain. We're going to figure out what is holding you back and where you need to go, and building out the exact key steps to take you down that path to where you want to be and become the person that you deserve to be. Because how you live is how you lead, my friends. So if you're ready to go on that journey, I encourage you to go over to retreat.truthoftransformation.com, fill out an application. You and I will jump on the phone, and we'll go from there to see if you're a good fit. All right, my friends, hope that help actually gives you some help, and looking forward to talking to any of you who apply to the retreat soon. Retreat.truthoftransformation.com. As always, my friends, Coach Joseph Hawthorne, peace be the journey.